Before we dive into today's episode, I want to extend a special invitation to all of our listeners. If you're considering adoption, navigating the home study process, or simply curious about your options, RG Adoption Consulting is here to guide you. Visit our website at www.rgadoptionconsulting.com/contact to schedule a complimentary chat. Our multi-agency approach is a strategic way to accelerate your adoption process without putting all your eggs in one basket. This strategy prevents you from feeling stuck with one agency, especially after a significant financial commitment. Why not consider a multi-agency approach with lower initial fees? We believe it makes a lot more sense. Plus, the support and education you receive through our services are aspects you might not expect you'll need until you're deep into the process. Reach out to us at rgadoptionconsulting.com/contact. We're here to support your adoption journey every step of the way. Your dream is to become a mom. My dream is to help you get there. I'm Rebecca Greenspan, a single mom through domestic adoption and an adoption consultant for over a decade. I'll be your guide, along with other adoption professionals and members of the adoption constellation, walking you step by step down this beautiful and complex path of adopting your baby. When I was going through the adoption process, I had no idea what I was doing, what I needed to know, or more importantly, who to trust. Well, after helping hundreds and hundreds of families grow through the beauty and complexity of adoption, I've learned more than a thing or two, and let me tell you, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. This isn't just another podcast sharing adoption stories, but it's for you if you're genuinely committed to diving in with an open heart, eager to learn everything there is to know about adopting a baby so that you can show up for yourself and your child in the best way possible. This podcast is for you if you're ready to put your newfound knowledge into action. Adoption isn't for the weak of heart, and it certainly isn't done when your baby gets placed in your arms. If that's what you think, I'm afraid you're living in la la land. My promise to you is to keep it real if you promise to keep digging. We'll acknowledge the hard, and we'll also celebrate the joy that is adoption. You ready? Let's do this. Hi. Welcome to This Week in Adoption. I have a different setup if you're watching me on Instagram, because I'm too tired to set it up. And I just didn't get a chance to come on live yesterday, which is my normal day. So here I am. I am showing up. It has been a nutso week in that, well, first of all, my son's bar mitzvah is in a week. I've been talking about it, and it's a lot of work. So, hi, whoever's giving me love on Insta, thank you. Especially doing it on my own. So, yeah, all that and trying to work at the same time. It's been a thing. And it's been a crazy week. In one day, I got 4 situations. Today, I got 2 situations. I mean, that takes a lot of time. And it's amazing. We have had matches. We've had lots and lots of situations. So hopefully, that's a good sign for things to come. Lots of happy, hopeful adoptive parents. That's for sure. And at the same time, we recognize the trauma that is part of adoption as well. Let's talk a little bit about going through the trauma of having a fall through and having that emotional connection to a mom, possibly to a baby, and then getting rematched with another situation, and yet that trauma from the fall through still lingers. How do you deal? So we have a family that had matched. It was a fairly long match. They got to know the birth mom really well, and then they were in the hospital and had the baby to themselves for a day and a half, and then she came back and decided to parent. And while they are not angry at her for her choice, it was really sad for them, as of course, like as expected. It was really sad. And shortly after, they were rematched. And it's a much shorter match. Typically, if you've had a fall through, I like if it's an angel drop or stork drop where a baby is born and you get that kind of situation. But at the very least, a shorter match, I'd say 1 to 2 months max. And so they're dealing with things like, do we keep the same name that we were going to name the first baby that we were potentially matched with? Do we keep that same name? We had given a lot of thought into naming our child, and we were connected and attached to that name. I don't know. What would you do? Would you continue and keep that name? Or would you change the name because that baby wasn't your baby after all? They're grappling with that, and they don't see eye to eye on that. The other thing is the fear that carries over to the next situation, and how can you really trust, right? Or really guarding your heart, and how to celebrate when you want to celebrate, and that this child, this baby that's coming into the world deserves that celebration, and you're scared. Your walls are up, right? And, financially, it's scary too. If it happens again, will we emotionally and financially be able to move forward? So that's one of the hard parts about rematching quickly. And then, of course, there's the good side of things as well, which is obvious. I mean, you're matched. But some people need to take more time in between, and that's okay too. You know yourself. Some people can bounce back really quickly. I think it also depends on the length of the match. Longer matches may take longer to recover from, and shorter matches, you might be able to bounce back quicker and move on to the next one. Before we go on, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go away. We still have so much to talk about. Hey there, Adoption Roadmap fam. Are you ready to take the next step on your journey to parenthood? If so, head over to our website and take our quiz. It's called, Are You Ready to Adopt? It's not just about testing your knowledge. It's about making sure you're emotionally and practically prepared for the beautiful, complex journey of adoption. Let's make your dream of parenthood a reality. Go to rgadoptionconsulting.com and take the Are You Ready to Adopt quiz today. That's rgadoptionconsulting.com. The quiz is free, and it will let you know where you are in the process and if you're ready to jump into your adoption journey. Being single and in a relationship. Let's move on to that. Being single and in a relationship. If you are living with someone, if you're engaged, you're not married, you have to adopt as a single person. There are very few entities that will allow you to present as a married couple or as a couple, adopting as a couple, because technically and legally you are not. You are adopting as a single person, and then that person can then adopt the child later. So I know that's hard for a lot of people, and I usually, when I get these phone calls, because I've had these calls a lot, over the years. I'm in a relationship. We've been in a relationship for 10 years. We're just not married. And when they hear they have to adopt as a single person, it's really hard to take. And I get it. And that's the law. So most home study agencies will let you know that right up front. But if not, you should know that you should get approved as a single person and adopt as a single, or you should go to the courts and get married, or plan your wedding and get married first and then do it. However, if you do it that way, then there's another issue. And that other issue is a lot of agencies and attorneys want you to be married for a certain amount of time. So they want to see that you've been married for at least a year, at least 2 years, at least 5 years, whatever it is. Every agency has a different timeline. Let's see. What else can I tell you? I know a lot has come up, and let's see, we had some older children coming through the pipeline, a lot of medically complex adoption situations, a lot more than I've ever seen. And also babies born with medical complexities, maybe where we weren't expecting it. Also a lot of deaths of babies. It's really sad. And it's kind of all of a sudden we're seeing a lot. So I haven't really figured out, is there a correlation with a certain drug? Is it fentanyl? Is it prematurity? I don't know. So that'll be interesting to see if those types of stats reveal itself in the coming months. But we are unfortunately seeing a lot of that. And another big news, and I usually only talk about domestic adoption, but big news in adoption is that China closed. China has closed its doors to adoption, and I'm part of an advisory committee for Gift of Adoption Fund. And we were talking a little bit about that because we have people on there that do both international and domestic. And I won't spend a lot of time on this because this is not my place, although, my place in the adoption world, although I do want to mention that my new marketing manager, Josie, is an adoptee who was adopted from China. So it was close to her heart. And every week when we have a team meeting, we have somebody who's doing some education, and she brought that up. I hadn't known, but Department of State issued an announcement that they were ceasing all U.S. adoptions with China starting immediately. It was unclear whether or not people who were already in the process would be able to follow through with their adoptions. And we're talking about like 300 adoptions that were in the works in China right now. So they aren't sure yet, but there's a lot of advocating going on right now to be able to let those people follow through with their adoptions and move forward, and not just, remember this happened with Russia years ago, where people were just kind of left to start all over again, and how horrible. But so I guess that's a big risk in international adoptions, is having a country close on you when you're in the midst of an adoption. Talk about devastating. So if you think domestic adoption is for you, go and take our Are You Ready to Adopt quiz at rgadoptionconsulting.com. With that, have a great weekend. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. If you have a question, just ping me. Let me know. I'll answer it live next week. Who knows? Enjoy. Bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. If you did, I have a few favors to ask of you. First, Please hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, I'd love to hear your takeaways. Please write a review and let me know what you liked. And if you have a question or a suggestion on what you'd like to hear, I'd love to hear that too. Please shoot me an email at support@rgadoptionconsulting.com and let me know what you'd like to hear about. And if you have a question, I may just answer it online. Thanks again for listening. Tune in every Wednesday and Friday morning for a brand new episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. Until next time, bye-bye.